What's up, y'all? 10-3 time in Tennessee. How are you? Hope you're well. Hope everything in your life is going great here on this Thursday, I believe. That is correct. Thursday.
It's Thursday.
Thursday, December the 4th, correct?
Yeah, the 4th. We're definitely the 4th.
The reason why I was pretty sure it was the 4th, because normally I write that down on the piece of paper here before we get going here with Wes here. Today at the 10 Streaming Center, along with Lord of the Streams, Tom Barclay. Yesterday was my wife's birthday, so I should know, and I do know, that today is the 4th, because yesterday was the 3rd, which is her birthday.
Yes, you probably should remember that.
We celebrated it. It was good.
A big deal.
Hey, we did. Happy birthday, beautiful. I love you. We had a good birthday evening. Nice dinner with the family and everything. Some salmon, some veggies. It was lovely. It was lovely. So what's that? What's the Will Ferrell movie? Is it? We went to the Olive Garden. It was lovely. Yeah, is that that's old school? I think it is. Maybe that's what that is. But yes, it was a good day. It was a good day for Tennessee football. Mostly, there's a little bit of interesting stuff that I think we're going to have to discuss on the program today, because in life it's never that old saying, right? Never quite as good or as bad as you think it is. And the past few days have been kind of you run the full gamut of that, because after Tennessee loses to Vanderbilt in rather humiliating fashion in the tail end of that fourth quarter there, the business end on Saturday at Neyland Stadium, you're thinking, man, this is the lowest point. This is the nadir of the hyperlayer at this point. This is bad. And then a couple days later, National Sign Day rolls around. Tennessee gets a Flipmas, Merry Flipmas. It takes basically almost, a half dozen or so, 5-6 guys that they were still in for but had technically been committed elsewhere or had opened things up, and they got them. Now, they lost one, but they got a bunch more than they lost. And you're like, oh, all right, got it going again. This looks really good. This looks really, really good. This is like borderline top 5 class nationally now? And you're thinking, wow, okay, this is the best class Heupel's had potentially. Now, again, that does not mean that it's going to be good. They got to go develop. They got to go stay at Tennessee for longer than a few months or a year. You got to go through all that. And for reasons that we've talked about quite a bit this week, it's not always just about stacking signing classes anymore, because you got to go keep the guys you got, and you got to bring in guys from the portal, and you have to try to make that portal door swings both ways. It's not a one-way portal, and so you just have to hope that every year between, what you bring in is more. You hope you're on the right side of that. You hope that you're, at the end of the day, putting a more talented product on the field or a better product on the field next season, right? And better doesn't always mean more talented. It could mean fits better together. It could mean everyone understands their assignments better. It could mean, better chemistry. It could mean all kinds of things, but you just hope that the way things go with that portal these days and with recruiting and everything, that you go into spring practice with a football team that could be better than the one that ended the previous season. And we don't know today whether Tennessee will do that. We don't know who's going to leave. Some guys have to make decisions on, for instance, the draft. Some guys could say, well, I'm going to enter my name in the portal and I'm going to declare for the draft. That way I'm leaving all my options open, which, candidly, if I were a draft-eligible sophomore or junior, or my kid was, and was a really, really talented football player, but was maybe not quite exactly yet a first-round pick, but was going to be picked, I think declaring for the draft and opening up your name in the portal is a good idea. That way you're opening up all kinds of business opportunities for yourself, and I understand that. I'll sound a little hypocritical when I switch topics here in just a second, but generally speaking, I think there's different ways to handle it. So you don't know whether you're going to have a better roster than you had before. If you're Tennessee, you don't know that now. You hope you do. But you got to see who's going, who's coming, who's yada yada, who's going to the draft, who can you get from the portal, who can you afford, how many guys are you going to have to pay more than you want to keep? Answer to that, probably a lot. But it is what it is now. We can sit here and bemoan what this era is, and that's fair enough, I think. I think that's fair enough, but it doesn't change the fact that it is what it is now. So do you still want to participate in this? Because if you do, these are the terms of the contract. And you can hope that maybe they change in the future or things get, tightened up a little bit. But again, I would urge you to go look at pretty much every court case on this matter in recent years. It's not tightening up. It is hard to enforce some of these things. If the NCAA had been a little less obstinate on the front end, a little less arrogant on the front end, years ago when the requests were much more humble, they could have been granted. And do I think that would have fixed the problem for all time? No. But I think it would have kicked it down the can for a generation or so. And hey, if you don't let the genie out of the, you don't let the genie out of the bottle, you don't got to worry about it flying around, taking you on a whole new world there with Jafar and all that. You don't have to worry about all that. And honestly, Tom, I'd watched Aladdin with my kid within the past month.
Okay.
And I gave possibly the least accurate description you could. Jafar was not happy was not down with the whole new world. He was not down with the carpet. He wanted to eradicate that carpet.
I thought you were going to make a Christina Aguilera reference there, to be honest with you.
Oh no, that's although that is about our age range. That was right in the sweet spot there. That should have done that. But it's, if they had wanted to be reasonable about this, they could have, and they didn't. So here we are. So it's like, do you love college sports enough to still be on board with this? I would venture a guess that most of you do, especially most of you who are taking time out of your day to watch or listen to this. I would imagine that you're still on board, albeit begrudgingly so in some cases. But this is these are the terms of the contract. You sign this if you want to be involved in how things are going in college sports now. So if you're Tennessee, you just hope now you go into the exit interviews with your players, or you start to do that. And yes, do you do exit interviews before the bowl game? Yes, you do. Because you're not in the college football playoff, and a bunch of your guys can start going to the portal soon. Some of them already will. We know some of them will. Some of them have. And others will talk about it, think about it, maybe go into the portal, maybe not. Remember a year ago there was Mike Matthews maybe kind of quickly going in there and then quickly coming back because Tennessee was like, oh, nope, can't let this one go. What do you want? What do you want, young fella? What do you want? Got to do that in some cases. And now, I mean, some of those receivers might look at it and say, okay, well, what exactly is the quarterback situation next season? Let's make sure we feel good about this because we want our catches. We want our yards. And it's business, man. It's business. I don't blame anybody for doing that. But what I'm not going to pass blame on yet, I'm not going to pass judgment on yet, but I do think, because we don't know enough about this, or I don't, candidly, know enough about this to offer any kind of judgment on this yet. But this whole Legend Bay situation's looking a little suspect. For those who haven't been paying attention, Legend Bay he plays quarterback at a high school down in Texas. He's being recruited kind of as a wide receiver athlete, a slash kind of player athlete, can do a lot of different things. He had been committed to Tennessee for a while. A little while back, flips to Ohio State. Yesterday, looks like he's going to sign with Ohio State. There's even scarlet and gray stuff at the ceremony because we could see the pictures. And then he signs with Tennessee. And you're like, okay, did Tennessee just pull one of those old like Lane Kiffin, New Keith Richardson signing day coups from years ago? Is Tennessee just kind of pulled a rabbit out of the hat here? Now, and you're thinking in your mind, is this a deal where Tennessee and Legend Bay kind of knew this was happening, but they kind of waited to surprise to have fun with it? Or is this a Brian Hartline, one of the assistants, one of the main assistants, big-time guys on that Ohio State staff, takes the job as the head coach at USF. And so naturally, maybe some Bay and some other Ohio State commitments on offense think, oh, wait, what's going to be going on now? And Ryan Day's an offensive guy. They're going to run a lot of the stuff he wants to run anyway. But I could see that spooking you a little bit. Like if you're a Tennessee quarterback commit and Joey Halsley takes a job somewhere, even though Josh Heupel's the quarterback guru known as, basically, even though they're always going to run his offense at Tennessee, you could still be like, whoa, that was my guy. That was my guy, and he's leaving on the day of signing day? Dude, what are you doing? That was possible. Or it's possible that at the last minute, Tennessee made him the old Godfather offer you couldn't refuse, right? Maybe, hey, I don't really like making a living doing that. I don't think that fosters the kind of program you want to be about. I'm not naive. I know that there are some players who they and their families are going to go to the highest bidder and they're going to take top dollar. But once they take that, for the length of that contract, they're on board. And if you ask me how much problem I have with that, it's zero. If you and your family, let's say you're not in a great economic situation. Let's say you got a chance here. You think, hey, you could blow your knee out. You could have, like a heart condition. You could have any number of things that could end your playing career tomorrow. So who's offering the most money right now? And we can sit here and judge about that. And if you want to judge, you do that. I'm not going to tell you how to feel. I'll tell you personally, that does not bother me at all. Because who am I to judge what you do with your life and your finances and your family situation, right? You might be changing the entire arc of your family's history by doing some of this stuff. I'm not going to sit here and judge that. But I will start judging it if you don't go by your end of the deal, which is when you sign that deal, and it's a year-to-year thing now, let's call it what it is, but for that year, you are on board. When you clock into work, you are a happy, positive, hardworking, diligent, selfless member of that team. If you want to go to the highest bidder, that's fine. And if you want to renegotiate your deal after that season, fine. That's business. That's fine. Is that classically what we think of as college sports? No, but it's been that way for a while. Even when it wasn't legal, you just couldn't transfer as much. It was more of a 4-year deal or multi-year deal. But the only time I have a problem is if you get that bag and then you're disrespectful. That I do have a gigantic problem with. For instance, the Boo Carter situation, when you are leaving meeting, you're not going to practices or workouts, you're going across the country, you're doing everything you can to try to get kicked off the team because you want to be somewhere else. No, young fella, you signed a deal. That deal was, here is this money, and you are going to show up and work just like everybody else because you're helping you if you help us. That's the deal. That's the deal. And while ultimately I don't want to relitigate the Nico Iamaleava stuff, I don't want to relitigate that. I don't. But I said at the time, and I'll say it now, Nico does have some responsibility for that. This was his third year as a college football player. He is, 20, 21 years old? 19, 20, at 20-ish at the time. I think most of that responsibility, and people could disagree on this, that started with the family. It started with the dad. It just did. And before you judge somebody in a situation like that, try to think of how tough it could be to stand up to your own dad in situations. Like, it's at that age, it's really easy to sit here from the outside and, lob grenades over there. It's really easy to do that. But you can, I think, legally being an adult and actually being an adult, I'm not the law here. I'm not the eyes of the law. I'm thinking, we all think about personal experiences, right? And people, our lives, people we know. I don't think most 20-year-olds, especially 20-year-old men, are adults, or 19-year-old men are adults. Now, if you have done something like enlist and you go serve overseas and you're living on your own, okay, salute, you're an adult. But even, and there's some of that in my own family, and even when those guys get shore leave or time off or, they go right back to being kids for about 48 hours and then go right back to being an adult. So they're adults because they got to be. I don't think it's easy, and I'll say this carefully, but in the Polynesian culture too, dads traditionally have a lot of say over a lot of things. It's hard to stand up to that. You're just not raised. For generations, you're raised to not do that. So, yes, I don't know if you want to call it defending, but I'm offering an explanation for some of that stuff. It's easy to sit there and cast blame at Nico, but the bottom line is Tennessee in the past year, has learned what it arguably should have known before, but definitely should know now. You can't have people in the program who don't want to be in the program. You can't do it. You can have people who are there because you're paying them. That's fine. You know what that's called? Hey, you're looking at it. Or you're listening to it. That's business. Like, people hire you to do a job and you do the job. Right? Like, that's wherever you are. I hope you're gainfully employed. Whoever's watching and listening out there, unless you've already retired and you've put in your service, good for you. Let those savings take care of you. Let that, societies need to take care of their old people that way. Do that. Let's do that. But it's okay to take the bag, but you got to be, and your family has got to be cool enough with your situation where you're happy to be there and assimilate and be part of the group for that full season, full stop. No meddling, no talking to other people behind the scenes unless it's your own representative, which is fine. That's what you should do, frankly. But the Legend Bay situation, it's not giving great vibes. It's not. Now, I don't know. There are people out there who cover Tennessee football recruiting at a really high level. They're great at what they do. I used to work for a company that's great at what they do in that way. There's others out there. There's competitors. I've never been someone who loves covering recruiting. I have been pretty candid about that in the past. I'll do it. You want me to give me a bat and tell me to get in the box, I'll take a swing, but it's always been, everywhere I've taken a job, it's been discussed on the front end that it's not my favorite thing to do. And it's not, and you're like, didn't you work for one of those for like 15 years? Yes, I did. With the full understanding the entire time that that's not why I was there. I mean, you got to know about it because you can't cover the team without knowing it. But that whole vibe, that whole scene, there's people who are very comfortable in that world. They're really happy in that world. There's people out there who love nothing more than going around to all these high school games and trying to find the next big thing. They want to be the first person who uncovers this gem of a prospect. right? Like, and that cool, man. That's awesome. It's a cool thing. It really is. It's just not my favorite thing to do. And then you have to basically, then there's that whole murky kind of unseemly side of the whole situation too. That's just, it ain't for me. It's not for me. It's not my favorite thing. So what I'm saying is, I don't know Legend Bay. If he comes to Tennessee and he plays at Tennessee, cover him, get to know him then, sure. Yeah. But I don't, there are people out there who will know him and his family and their situation more than me. What I know is that whole situation yesterday had some weird vibes to it. And then the young fellow's Twitter account yesterday pops up and then quickly deletes. This is a quote. Good afternoon. I was just recently logged out of my IG and probably will be logged out of this account as well by my older brother who has access to my account because I won't sign with the school him and my mother wants. And then signs it at the end, Legend Bay. I mean, I don't know them. I know that doesn't look good. And if you're Tennessee and everything you've been through in the past year, does that sound like something you want to deal with? I can't answer that for them. I can tell you what my answer would be. There'd be a lot of phone calls looking into this really quickly, and if it's what it looks like it is, go on to Columbus, young fella. No skin off our back. This is still a top 10 caliber class. Some good players in this class. Wouldn't want to lose you and Salisi Moa, but there's some other playmakers in this class, and we can go get a receiver out of the portal if we need another one. We'll use that money for a vet from the portal or to keep one of the receivers currently on the roster, give him a nice raise instead of going elsewhere. That's what it looks like from the outside. Now, again, this young man, he has to have basically a guardian of some kind has to sign some of the, the NLI, the National Letter of Intent stuff, because he's not 18 for a few weeks, I think. He's still 17, is my understanding. So he can't just sign wherever he wants and go and, full speed ahead. He can't do that yet. So he's got to go through having a guardian or somebody else sign it. And maybe this is just a kid being a little dramatic, right? Would I have wanted the world to have access to my social media thoughts at that age? No. I mean, you know what my social media thoughts are now. Why would you want to see them at that age? Oh, no. I wouldn't be hired somewhere. There's no way I'd be here. I'd be doing something else. Because there'd be like, if you had let me do that stuff at 17, 18, and the stuff that I would have said at different times, just for what I thought was fun, oh, no. So I'm not going to sit here and judge that. I'm not going to assume anything either. But I know that if this could be a situation where they can get everybody on the same page and they can try it out for a year and say, hey, try it out for a year, and if you're not down with this, then go somewhere else. Okay, sure. But I have always been a proponent of people playing, working, and living where they want to play and work and live. And that's not just a personal freedom thing, although that's one of the main reasons. The other thing is pure practicality. Anyone who's listening to this or watching this is most of you probably have jobs somewhere, or you've had one before where you've worked on a team. And you've worked on a team where everybody was happy to be there. Everybody wanted the same thing. You didn't always agree, but everybody wanted the same thing at the end of the day, and it just worked. It just worked. Everybody was happy. Everybody was productive for the most part. When somebody else was slacking, somebody else was picking them up. It was a healthy, productive working environment. And I'm guessing most people watching and listening to this have also worked in situations that were the opposite, where it is just not fun to come into the office because either you or somebody else doesn't want to be there, and doesn't want to be there to the point that they are a problem. Because one bad apple can quickly turn into a batch of them. And I'll tell you how that works. If you have one bad apple, you might just have one bad apple. If you have two bad apples, you're about to have a lot more. Now, we talk all the time about things you know and things you think. This is right there on the border, because I've seen enough of this to know that it doesn't always happen, but it's always a strong possibility. All you need, people say it needs one bad apple to spoil a bunch. I've never fully agreed with that. I think it takes two. Because if you got two, you got a team. And that team can start causing problems because they will multiply. If you see one guy doing something, but everybody else in the room is doing something else, you can let that one guy do his thing. And you know what? Hey, man, we just don't mess with that guy. Sometimes he's productive, sometimes he's not, but we're not dealing with that. Like, just he's going to be him. If you got two of them, then you got a problem. And in football, you got 120 guys. So do the math. You're probably not just going to have one. So when you spot one, you got to be really careful. In basketball, less so. You got, 16 guys, including the walk-ons? It's a little easier to kind of keep one guy he does his own thing. We don't really know what that guy's about. In football, that's 8 times the people, roughly. So, yeah, you got problems. And so, and it doesn't have to be someone who's not showing up for practice or, anything like that, or actively tanking the team. It could be someone whose just attitude is never very good because they just don't want to be there. And that's where you have to start worrying about things. It could even be something that small. Because the thing that I think people, this will sound dumb, Tom. It really will. It might sound dumb. I think a lot of people occasionally forget just how hard football is. And really all athletics at a high level. But how hard football is. Because from the day that you go into start training camp and you come out, you're hurting. You're hurting every day. You're hurting every day. You're not. The first day that camp starts, and especially the first day you put pads on in camp, you're hurting for the next 5-6 months. You just are. You're hurting for the next 5-6 months. And it's hard to get up every day and go work in that environment because physically it's going to hurt. No matter how well you eat, no matter how well you stretch, no matter how well, you're going to hurt. It hurts. So you know what you have to have? Commitment. Because if you don't have commitment to it, boy, it's really easy to not do that. By the way, welcome to the Boss Man. The boss man, Corey Savage, Corey Presley walks in.
That's the thing you can do when you're the boss. You can just walk into a podcast in the middle of it and just say, hey.
You can walk in whenever you want.
Let's talk a little bit, right?
You can walk in whenever you want. This is a guy who knows about commitment.
Yeah. Tennessee boy, grew up middle part of the state, came back, family up in Powell. Shout out to the Panthers up there.
Panthers. I think my dad once got expelled from Powell years ago.
Yeah.
You have to look that up, but I'm.
Well, it's fact at this point, even if it didn't happen, but it's fact. It's been a crazy time on the recruiting trail here.
Yes, and that's what we were talking about, this Bay stuff.
Yeah, Bay stuff. I just saw. He and it's godly. If this stuff, there wasn't a drama-filled team this year, you probably look at that a little differently.
Yes.
But the Boo stuff is still fresh
Yes.
on the fan base.
And Nico's not that far removed from
I
it,
know
too.
you got 3. Well, they say it comes in 3s, right?
There you go.
So, look,
Maybe that's it. Maybe it stops there.
yeah, maybe. But I highly doubt it in this world that we're in. But
No, it never
but
stops.
it's always that's the world we're in with NIL. It's like you got a lot of competing interest. Family is always out there, and if this young man is, it's a lot of pressure. 18 years old. I don't know about you, Wes.
I was just telling people that I would never, if people had been given access, if like a Twitter had existed when I was 18 years old,
Well,
I don't know that I would be employed anywhere in the communications industry. I just don't.
mm-hmm.
If that had been the case then, it
Yeah.
wouldn't have happened. So it's just, and what we were talking about was how in football, people, it sounds dumb to say, but I think people forget pretty quickly just how hard football is, how physically, psychologically, because we were just talking about the physical part and how much you're hurting every day for 6, 7 months, 8 months a year. But on top of that, you got psychological pressures you're dealing with the results of it.
Yeah, think about it. I mean, I think I saw it was like 20% of adults, U.S. adults, only 20% of them go to the gym 3 to 5 times a week. They're in the gym twice a day.
That seems like a high number. It can't be that many.
That's what I think I saw. I think it was like 1 in 5 adults are in the gym 3 to 5 times a day a week.
I walk around town. I go visit a lot of places around this country for work, and I don't think it's 20%.
Well, it might be all on the West Coast. Who knows?
There you go. Definitely
maybe
more out
lower
there.
here, but no.
Little more Mediterranean diet out that way.
Yeah, I'm gonna get an email for that comment. But look, I mean, so you take that part of it, the physical stress that's on it, and then again, you have 18-year-olds. You're not talking about $100. You're not talking about $200. You're not talking about $300. You're talking thousands of dollars. On the low end, up to, in Nico's case,
in other cases, a couple millions of dollars.
Millions of dollars. And so now you're putting this on someone who's not even, their brain's not even fully developed yet. And so you're going to have more and more of this. It's the world we're in now. We're never going back.
No.
That
toothpaste is way out of the tube.
Way out of the tube. It's going to get worse before it gets better. And, we that's what we've resigned to. And that look, you adapt. You survive. The fact that Heupel,
you have to. This is the contract now.
I mean, the fact that Heupel, he comes off the season that he did, lands this recruiting class that he did. Yes, there is some drama. I just feel like there's always going to be drama.
I do too. I feel like there's always drama. I think I'm just a big believer in you gotta have people in the building who want to be in the building, and if they don't, then it's not even just about it's not even just about morals and ethics and things. It's practical. Like it's you hey, if Tennessee's got a choice now where they find out this kid really does not want to be at Tennessee, then from a practical standpoint, if he goes where he wants, it's Ohio State. If all these things are true, so you're not. What's he going to do? Tip the balance and make Ohio State good? No, like they're already good. Like they're plenty good. They might be back-to-back Natty winners. They're fine, and they're not in your conference, so you wouldn't necessarily even have to play them. So you can spend what I would imagine is a hefty sum of money on someone and hope that you can they eventually want to be there, or you can spend it on someone else who wants to be there and.
Well, it comes down to this, and this is like leadership 101,
yes,
right?
Like good you're in here for this.
Yeah. You have someone who the talent is undeniable, right? But if their lack of work ethic or their lack of wanting to be there starts to affect the other people around them, it doesn't matter how talented those other people are going to be. You don't lose A++ talent because of burnout necessarily. You lose them because they feel like they're held to a different level of accountability as the next person. Hey, I just ran my 100-yard sprints. Tom, he hasn't done them all year. Yep. Shout out, Tom.
That is true. That is 100% true. I have definitely not done those sprints.
I was about to lie and say he was running laps.
Just running laps around, yeah. But so like that's that, and it's hard because, and you made the point. this season's a lot different if Boo Carter houses a punt against Georgia to seal the game. Like that's okay.
Then it's worth it.
Then it's worth it, and that's hey, you can sit here and say no, it's not his drama. No. I know Tennessee fans. If he houses a couple, he wins a game. They're gonna forgive his drama.
Oh yeah, I've seen it before.
I've seen it before. You can. I mean,
Kelly Washington was fine until he wasn't.
Exactly. Think about all those ones, all those greats that come through. Even Juwan Jennings. Juwan Jennings, dog. He's on a Mount Rushmore for folks.
If we could get the stories that the Dale Carter, Carl Pickens, Alvin Harper trio.
Oh.
The stories of their shenanigans are legion.
Yeah.
And you just dealt with it because, boy, they produced on Saturdays.
That's the reality of the SEC world. And look, that's the reality of any workplace, too. Like, if anyone's watching this, I know there's probably someone who's an absolute jerk at work, but they get everything that they want, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're the best salesman. And it's not even close, right? That is a very common leadership thing that you have to weigh out. And now Heupel has to answer that question. With Nico, they separated. He said, no one's bigger than the T.
And got lucky with Joey.
You get rid of Boo. No one's bigger than the T. All right. Well, that didn't, we'll see how that turns out.
Yep.
And now you got a guy named Legend. And what are they going to say? Are they going to let him go? Is he going to continue that no nonsense? I tell you, it's harder to continue that no nonsense if the proof is not on the field. If the product's not on the field, it's hard to get rid of those.
It is, and what complicates it for me is that it's if we are to believe, and again, stories emerge over time. They sort of are flowers, right? They bud and they come out, and you eventually see it, right? Most of the time, but on face value here, on surface level, you've got what looks like a kid who wanted to go somewhere, and his mom and his older brother have said, no, you're going here instead, and you're not 18, so you're going to do what we say.
Yeah.
Which, hey, legally 17 years old, my son's not that old yet, not even close. I'm not going to – I don't know why they decide what they decide. But I don't like it. I think a kid should be able to go where he wants to go to school, as long as it's not like you're saying – it's not like he wants to go somewhere where you're like, these are the worst people in the world. I can't,
Well, it comes down to you want them to be adults. You want them to make their own decisions. And there's so many unknowns. Like, we don't know what the NIL package is. We don't know what's been promised by each coaching staff. Hartline leaving Ohio State.
Yep.
I mean, that's mom and brother trying to see that, and how's that going to work out? I think what he's getting a lesson in now, though, is, frankly, it's fall Twitter. I mean, unless he goes out freshman year and has a 800-yard season or more and wins a game or puts up some Jalen Hyatt-type numbers, I mean, a lot of all fans are going to look at him as tainted. I really think.
And I think, and what's interesting, what I think has been refreshing to see in this case, at least, this is, if Tennessee had like a number 25 signing class, then the tune might be different. Tennessee signing class is by all accounts very, very good. So I think people, and it's refreshing to see this. Even a bunch of Tennessee fans I've seen have been like, hey, if this kid really wants to be somewhere else, let him go do it. And what I think is good, and it's why I think the Boo Carter situation was so different, because the timing of it. It was in the summer. Mm-hmm. You could not replace him. You just couldn't do it.
Yep.
Nico, even then, as bad as that timing was, you did have a situation where after spring practice at other places, you might have opportunities for someone who's pretty good but doesn't win a job, or and so you have time to go, because if the Nico stuff had happened in the summer, Tennessee's probably paying him whatever he wants. Just to be honest, like there's no they're like,
you're too far gone.
Yeah, like, what do you want, Big Nick? We have to make this work.
Yeah,
just like with Boo, like we have to make this work. And so now you have enough time where I think if this is true, and if this is not just some kid acting out and being young and learning from it, if this is one of those deals, then I think you say, hey,
we tried it.
If you don't, young fella, here's our refund on our NIL investment here. We're gonna go find somebody in the portal, or make sure Braylon Staley's taken care of next year even more, or it's like it's or now somebody else from some other program can come here now, or maybe use that money and go fortify with a veteran quarterback who's okay with maybe not starting, but you give him enough money, now you get this extra cash. There's a million different things you could do with that cash, and I just think, at the end of the day, Tennessee kind of plays 3 receivers anyway. That's kind of all they do, unless somebody gets hurt.
Kind of, yeah. I mean,
so
it's a big reason why they had so many wide receivers in the top 10 receiving yards this year. You don't usually
come in as a freshman and play. You usually have to wait a year or two and then you play.
And that wide receiver room is stacked. I mean, you look at who's coming back next year. You're going to have 2 of the 3, right? Most likely, barring some kind of chaos.
Who knows? But probably.
Probably. Travis, he's in there. How are you going to keep a 5-star on the bench?
Rodarius Jackson, you
got guys.
Ethan Davis is basically a wide receiver, tight end.
He's the biggest wide receiver I've ever seen. But I mean, he's already shown, especially back part of this year, like he's got some wheels to him.
Those nerves, his nerve situation, kind of whatever that was health wise, that it's soothed enough where he can go play.
Yeah. Well, and he's impressive. He passes the eye test. But, when we'll transfer in here to, tongue-in-cheek comment there about transferring. Portal-wise, look, Tennessee's had some success in the portal, especially at the cornerback realm. Look, you can say what you want about this defense. It is completely different if you've got a healthy CB1, CB2. Let's call it what it is.
And then you can let Colton Hood play nickel, so you're not worried about what's going on with Boo.
And then you move on. You probably get some of this drama out of the way quicker. I mean, it's just different. So now, who's up next, right? Because Mod's gone. He's gone.
I think Hood's probably gone.
Why wouldn't he be?
I think he can get high enough pick to go. So Redmond comes back.
And
then you'll see with Gibson. I mean, last season he kind of was holding out for a while, doing a little business. But hey, he was fine. He was the kind I'm okay with, the business where it's like, I'm going to hold out. You pay me what I think I need to be worth, but once I sign this,
I'm done.
I'm good. Yep. I'm here for at least this year. We're
respectable.
Good. Yep. That's the problem is when you don't live up to that end of the bargain. Like if you're there just for money, that's okay as long as you're willing to play for the terms of the contract. Sure. As long as you're showing up and hey, once you're there to get the job done. Like that's fine. Like Tennessee and other places. I mean, Oregon's got, I don't want to say a team full of mercenaries, but that Uncle Phil Knight's money goes a long way. And that's why when they asked Dan Lanning, what do you think about going somewhere else? He was like, grass is greener here, man.
Yeah.
He knows what he's saying.
Well, exactly. Well, and in this world that we're in, I don't know if you're going to see a lot of those top-level guys ever leave. Like Kirby, where's he going to go?
I mean, I think the closest you get to it is someone like Lane leaving a pretty, like a good tier 2 program for an absolute apex predator program. Maybe something like that's about as close as you get, maybe.
Yeah, but you back in the day, I think it was safe to say you would see more movement among some of these elite programs. Like Lane or Saban left LSU, he went up to the pros. Do you see that as much anymore? I don't know.
No, not unless it's someone kind of trying to beat the hangman out of town. There are people like
Harbaugh effect.
and you see this in basketball, like Buzz Williams, who is very, very, very passionate to the point where it can be kind of abrasive, and he's the kind of guy that when you see, he's like that crazy uncle or crazy cousin that you see a couple times a year, and it's great. Yeah. But then he moves in with you. And you're like, this is different now. Yeah. Like it was better when you were like in, Kansas or wherever. And so it's he would know that after a few years at a place, gets them to the tournament a couple times. People are they're starting to get a little bit, get out of town, go somewhere else. I think with that
That's
you'll still
point.
see.
Yeah,
but other than that, but just like for pure resources.
Yeah.
If a place like Ole Miss, in theory, was like, hey, we're not going to have a big airport. We can't do that.
Yeah.
But anything else, what do you want?
Choice. Yeah.
What do you want?
Yeah.
And I think they were willing to do that, but Lane is Lane and LSU is LSU, and they're the kind of crazy that's a perfect fit for each other.
Yeah, I'll say it. This LSU pairing with Lane, it's going to be one of two things.
Maybe both.
It may be both. It's going to be so much fun to watch from the outside, or it is going to be an absolute dumpster fire. I've seen this. We've seen it. Lane is Lane. LSU fans, who I love, I
hand in the air. I love them.
I love.
They're
those.
insane, and I love them. Maybe it's Catholic family. I mean, I don't know, but
man.
It's just
the true story. So I forgot what year that was. It was the monsoon game. I don't forgot what year that was.
Oh gosh, I remember that was a monsoon.
Yeah, I mean that was. Anyway, I was able to go to that game and ran into these LSU fans beforehand. And when I tell you, they were the nicest people I ever met. They were just handing food over at this tailgate to me like I was part of the family. And that just has always kind of stuck in my mind. And then
Elijah says the same thing about because he covered LSU for a while.
Oh, yeah.
That when you go, like you'll try to walk from the media lot to the press box, and people will stop you and be like, eat this, eat that.
Oh yeah, it's like a scene out of The Grinch. It's like you're getting forks and crawfish thrown in your face, and you're like, yeah, I guess so. And next thing you know, you're up 20 pounds and you're fighting in a different division. And
you smell a little bit like corn dog, which is one of the it's such low hanging fruit. Yeah. But if you've been down there, it is true. You walk around, you're like, it does smell like that a little bit. It does just a little bit. It just does, and I don't know why that is, but it's what I think. Here's where I am on this, and I understand why, especially Tennessee fans. And right now, it's a little fresh for Ole Miss fans. Yeah. They're not going to like it.
No.
But here's what I love about it. Name a good movie, book, story, play, whatever, like a truly iconic all-time one that doesn't have a great villain.
Oh, yeah.
You can't have good plot structure if you don't have the better the enemy, the better the story.
Talking a heel.
Yes.
Yeah.
You need that.
Yeah, you need it.
You kind of need it. It does give that dynamic. You've got to have your Money Mayweathers. And
yes. And when you put that,
it just creates such a good story. You're right.
And when you put that in LSU with LSU fans, and really just in the state of Louisiana, which people talk all the time about Texas being its own country, which is kind of true. Louisiana is its own country.
Yeah.
They call counties different things. You can buy whatever liquor you want at gas stations. You can get hurricanes at a drive-through. You drive down the interstate and see couches to the left and right. Like, it is wild.
Yeah.
And I think magnificent. Now, some people don't, and maybe it's one of those things where I've heard people say, well, if you live there, it gets a little different. I'm like, okay, that's fine, because the history of corruption in the state in a lot of different ways, it's pretty rough.
There is a lot of news
and
to cover.
The governor right now getting involved in the coaching search, and then, by the way, giving Lane Kiffin like the sun, the moon, and the stars after saying all that.
Yeah.
Paying him depending on what Ole Miss does in the playoff. That is fantastic.
Yeah, it's again, there's so many storylines that are already coming back that you're just like, there's no way that just like you. I remember, of course we deal with so much fakeness out there, the fake accounts and all the stuff that's going on.
Oh yes.
I mean that's part of it, and I remember seeing someone tweet that they would match whatever he was going to make in the playoffs, depending on how Ole Miss did. And I was like, whatever, almost report spam. And I looked, no, that's a main college ball writer. Double check the portfolio. No, that's real. And you just cannot help but hats off to you, man. Like, if you can get that in your contract, good enough for you.
Jimmy Sexton, say what you will about him, the man's a gangster. He runs it. If he's one of those guys that people say this about, like Boris too in baseball, because now Boris is sort of advising some high school kids, and they don't sign in LIs because no one should, because you don't have to.
Yeah.
But his guys just don't do it.
Yeah.
And why? Because you don't have to, and it helps you, gives you a better hand to play not to. If a coach leaves, cool, you can sign the grant and aid stuff. You can still just enroll. If they accept you, you can just enroll and go play football and then accept your scholarship.
Yeah, and I'm bringing this up at 3:52.
We're
but
good.
Like
Plenty of time.
The thing about Jimmy Sexton is this: everyone knows Jimmy Sexton. Nobody knows Jimmy Sexton. Like the common day, like if Jimmy Sexton was to walk into Market Square and chop down a tree, get in the skating rink, no one would have a clue who that guy is. But he controls a lot of money in this world. A lot of money.
Reminds me of like, honestly, the smartest mafia bosses who you might see in the old days. You would see their name in the paper, but you rarely saw a photo, and if you did, it was grainy. They never did interviews.
They were like Bigfoot,
which made Gotti stand out in such a big way because he was the opposite, and you see how where that landed him.
Yeah.
But it reminds me of that like everyone knows the name, but it's like Beetlejuice. You don't say it 3 times in a row. They don't.
Nope.
Like they do what they do. And they pull the strings, they get the money.
And to their credit, it's a very niche thing that they do.
Oh, yeah.
It is a very niche thing. How many people can negotiate at that high level with some of the smartest people in the country with millions and millions in
and
contract,
always win.
Has he ever lost one? No.
He would maybe tell you that he has, or he felt like he could have done more.
No.
And honestly, I thought, and I'm being honest here before we get out of here. I thought Lane would get more like $15 million, because I thought this is a time where 3 or 4 really good, really wealthy programs are all coach hunting at the same time. There's not a single just slam dunk can't miss candidate. Lane is by far the number 1 candidate who is available. They are all going to be fighting for him. He could shatter the scale. He could shatter it for what is possible. But I think LSU being LSU is one of the few places who could be like, listen, you're going to get 12 and we'll give you incentives, but we're not going 15, 16s. And whereas Florida may have had to try something like that, even Florida. But LSU's like, dude, at the end of the day, Ed Orgeron won a national championship here. Ed Orgeron won it. Les Miles won a national championship here.
Yeah.
Those guys, at best, one screw a little loose. At best.
Are you talking about the guy that ate a blade of grass out of every? Yeah. Maybe not. The soundest.
It was, and one of my favorite Ed Orgeron stories of the year, he was at Tennessee, was that they did their practices like early then, even sometimes even earlier than Heupel does his practices at like 7 or 8, whatever it is. These were like early, like 6 a.m. Like you were getting there. It was not fun. I'm a night owl. It was not fun to get to that parking lot every morning, but every single morning you would be a block away from the practice field, and you would already, without a microphone, hear Ogre yelling at the defensive lineman.
Yeah.
Like, I love the smell of napalm and football in the morning. Just going like in. And it's like, dude, it is too early for this kind of noise.
Not for him. He's already been up a couple hours. He's on his 3rd or 4th energy drink at this point.
Yeah, and he's dipping chicory coffee beans. Really, he did. He grinded up chicory coffee beans and dipped them. I mean, just nuts. Just nuts. You know what? Thank you for stepping in here.
Yeah,
today,
no
boss.
worries.
Had a lot of fun with this.
Yeah.
We talked a little Legend Bay, a little Lane Kiffin there at the end. Tennessee's recruiting class. We'll wrap more of that up here in the next, couple days. We're going to talk more about Illinois tomorrow too, because that's a big game for Tennessee basketball. That's they're okay, but they need to go ahead and take care of one of these next 2 couple of them. You want to go ahead and get back going again, because I think they're fine, but.
Well, I think that back-to-back losses for the first time since they went on and beat national champion Gators.
There you go. There you go. Guys, we got a lot more basketball to talk about. We got a lot more football recruiting to talk about. Gosh knows what's going to be the deal here in 24, 23 hours, but we'll be here talking about it, whatever it is. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll see you in about 23 hours.